Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my videos. This is one more week or one more strong day of my camera. Understand? This is on a Monday and the time in America is changing and summer is supposed to be fading, but the trees them still green, so they keeping their word. I keep mine. Yo, wow, everything good? Yes, I connect to the Salsa bank account have to be approved. Yes, I. Hiya. New and improved, people. Yo, wow. Now remember this now. This one called Time Before You're Born. Have you ever think of the time before you born? What your mother was doing, what your father was doing, what music they was jumping to, what type of clothes they was rocking in, and what was the level of what they think is hot. So I was looking at it like back then in 2014. I went into the library and I was doing some research. So I realized time before I was born. So I look back at Kennedy, what's his name? A lot of them. Bustamante, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and I started to look at the time period what was going on. So what I realized now, in a Malcolm time, there was a very racism time, and he was bashing white folks. Understand? So as I grow my thinking, I realize, black men can become white, and there's tons of other things. So what we learn is that time have knowledge that you do not have yet, but you need the past knowledge to have a future better understanding. You understand? For example, is let's say you grew up in Jamaica, right? And when you in 2025, you go back and look at 1976, how there was operating. You start to see the same lipstick way, the same hairstyle way. You see the same different ways of saying things, but it's the same way. It's just a slang. And then you will see the hairstyle repeating itself from the 70s into the 2025. This is the year I did the camera. But the behavior of the people will stay on the shifting. But when we check it, what really changes the device they put into the timeline. Because this 2025 is a timeline. For example, look at this right here, right? This is a card. The NY. This was the last card they created for a train. Now they have the Metro card. Understand? In 1990, none of this was around. But when you check the book now, Marker the 666, it was talking about everything was gonna go on card, and then you got to show ID to enter building. Like buy foods and stuff like that. You should read that book. You understand? It was a white man from the White House writing. Understand? And he was explaining a lot of things. How it's going to affect the people. But when I checked the time before I was born, I was shocked of so many things. What was happening at that time period. So I went and checked the cars then. And I said, this is what you think was hot. You understand? So when I checked even the first Benz, I was like, this is Benz, man? Benz, if you look at those type of Benz, no, you want to own one if you was a car lover. You understand? But when you check as far as like what they call it, Ford and things like that, you're like, look, that style is high, but Ford, no, it's upgraded. But the Benz, the first Benz, when you check out the first Benz, the Benz is hot at that level. But if you check how it was and check the time period of the woman and how they was dressing, it was cool. But when you check the way of the black people, in the 70s, the black women, they was wearing more respectable clothes. And in the 60s, they was wearing respectable clothes. You understand? This in my time period is all it changed up. I think after they bring in the hip hop culture and the dancehall culture and all that, it go down like that. But there was a time of the hippie. The time of the hippie where they was smoking weeds and Bob Marley and all of the other them that was playing roots music involved, you notice it just fade, but there was a presence of people respecting people, a presence of a woman respecting herself and brother respecting women. And then I went back and checked 1931. This is when they bring in TV. Then I start to look at the newspapers them, and I start to check the fight with the cops and and black people, and you understand? So what I learned now from that time before I was born, when black people is under pressure and other nations pressing them and pushing them and keeping them down and whole lot of human behavior law breaking, they stick together. But when no more that exists, they're separated. But what caused that is the generation. The generation do not have the knowledge of who they are, so they lose their culture. In 2025, I noticed they lose their culture. I was on the subway screaming out how America lose their culture of what is original. Because they're telling me if they do my records, then I should do something else. But when the people find out that you do my records, and I'm the original and you the fake, so you think you outshine me because you do something like me. And I'm the original. And so you forget the original mindset of the people. And I break it down to them, say, yo, listen, if I walk into the stores and I have money in my pocket and to buy a diamond chain for $1 million, I would never pick up a fake chain. A fake chain or a diamond and put it on my neck and buy it with a fake. No, I would want to buy the real. The same thing goes for everything, you understand? So I realize now the time shift, now the people lose the originality. You understand? They lose the creations of the beat drum, the creations of a song, the creations of a style. They want to do what you do. Where that come from? So I start to check like species involved into human creations, and I check how the monkey species do, and the dog and the aliens, and I start to check human behavior to know the difference between a species and a human. Understand? Because when we check it, creation is something that we're supposed to have original from. Understand? Creation is not something that you take from a person and say, yeah, you stop him, when the public know that you are the imitator. You understand? These are something that we realize the mindset of the people it lose the Statue of Liberty. This is what I said in my song. Statue of Liberty, freedom, originality. They're pulling out the roots and destroying humanity. You understand? These are some of the things I look at, man. But as time passed before you born, you should go back and check it. You understand? What was happening at a certain time period. Go check on when radio appeared onto the people, what the people was doing. When radio came in, they used to have radio stories. People used to sit at their radio and listen to radio story. This is before TV. So a lot of people used to gather around and they used to do a lot of audios. Understand? And they have series, and we used to hear the stories. If you listen to my audience, them, I didn't have the equipment them to set it up like the studios them like that. So what I did, I just do it from my phone and use a little sound. And I know I couldn't make stories with my audios. What I did was just speak into them. You understand? I speak into them so you might like them like la la la. And I couldn't do the story, so I have to come with a sexual speaking and positive thoughts like this. You understand? So when I check it, people lose that mindset of original in modern time. But if you check the radios back then, before we have TV, people used to just gather around in tables and sipping like, oh, we're gonna listen. They used to gather around to just hear a story. Those time period is when people were listeners. Understand? In this time period, we do not have listening people. If you tell them to do something like for themselves, they're doing something against what is harming them. So for example, I say if you do that over there, it's going to harm you. They don't listen to it, they go over there and do what's harming. You're checking, man. You run your own experiment on people. Notice something harming them and you tell them don't do it, they keep doing it. Even if the adults and the children themselves have the same mind. You understand? But back then when there was radio story, people used to listen. You understand? And then when they bring in TV, oh mercy. It changed the whole set of mankind. Now, those are time before we're born, man. You need to check it. Everything that you're using and everything that you're growing to, you gotta go check on the time period of it. And the black woman, them, go check when you start wear weave. White woman, you go check when you start wear lipstick and makeup. Check on those time period. You understand? And check when you start think tight jeans is sexy on your booty. Because there was a time you was dressing modern girls. You understand? Dress and the normal and the hair nice and dressing with curve. Y'all wasn't showing up no curve. And you need to go check the time period. You could use the internet and read and look at the pictures them. Because some pictures show. Go check the time period when man was providing for woman. And you have to just come home and it's food cook. And the wife used to cook all the clean up the house, cook all the food. That's when American woman was American woman and white woman was white woman and black woman was black woman, African woman was African woman. But some part of the world it still exists like that, where women are still working home and cleaning and taking care of things and the man providing the food. You understand? But I want you to check what caused the mindset of the woman to lose respect for the man. Understand? Because the moment the woman start to do what the men do, suddenly the respect for the man gone. Understand? Because the woman know how to go out and work. And then check the time period when black men was going to jail rapidly. What was happening at the time period with black people. Check the segregation time period to have an understanding of who you are and where you live and where you're going. Every white folks that didn't know of segregation time, you go check what your nation, what you used to do to black people. Black people that didn't know of segregation time, go check what they used to do to you. And the same thing go for Indian, white, and Chinese. But don't get racism tossed and harm each other. Don't do that. It's for you to get smart. And then when you check all the segregation, you want to ask yourself, what was the music that was popping before I was born? Now, what's up, Puff? I see Puff take music that before he was born and turn it and make it millions in it. Understand? And music that he grew up listening to, he take it and make millions with it. That is a person that look at what before he was born and use it. Understand? Because there are some songs that you're born come here and you gotta check back what was the hit at it, how the people used to vibe to it, and how they used to carry themselves. You understand? And I want you to check also the times of school, how they used to treat people in school, how friendship used to be in school. You should go back to the 70s, start from the 70s and the 60s and read all the stories and check all the violence. And I want you to do something for me before I end this camera. Check the first mass shooting in America. Understand? And what it was. And then when you do that now, if you was a person that watches camera, go read up on your family history, your mother and your father, check what they was. How you do that, if they're still alive, you ask them question. Ask them questions, say, Mom, what you was doing at that time when you was 18 or 19 or 20? You understand? You gotta learn from them. If you do not learn from them, you are not gonna have a stronghold on your life. You're just gonna be adapting to new things. And these are the things that you must watch. What control you? Because you control through your TV, control through your radio. You understand? The TV teach you how to dress, what is hot, what is new, through the rap videos and all that. You understand? We keep up the town like that. You understand? And through their phones and all that. Nothing wrong with that. Because the people that need something to look up to, people need fashion and style. You gotta know what's going down that way. Understand? And I want you to check the kings and queens time, when man and woman used to be in unity, where one man could have 10 women and none of the women would argue or fight. These are time period exists. You understand? And how you find it, check Queen of England. Check England first. And then when you do, check Africa. Check America. And check the Pacific, them that used to do kings and queens. And ask yourself, what happened to that time period and why we no more into that level. You could see that mankind make a lot of shift and a lot of failure and a lot of up and a lot of down. Understand? But the key to life, man, a time before you're born is a real serious thing, man. Understand? Check what the doctors they was doing. You should also do. And what the people they thought was the way to do it. When I was coming up as a boy, AIDS was a killer. And as I grow older, I noticed they learn how to tame down AIDS. You understand? These are some of the things. But cancer is one that I noticed. I born come here of cancer. and still they don't have a real proper cure for cancer. If they do, it is being kept secretly. Understand? But I fight all those things with the earth, because the earth is the fullness of the Lord, and remember the herb is the healing of the nation. Understand? And I want you to check in history. There is history. I want you to check. There was a time military, they didn't know how to build a proper sword yet. I said it in one of my camera, and 50,000 military men missing, and they thought it was magical. Tell all military who vanishing and clamping, they are the same one again, and they're most mighty and powerful, and they make me powerful. So, you understand? All right, peace. Yo, wow, everything good?